Good afternoon and welcome to the Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, please take roll.
Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblyman Carter.
Present.
Assemblywoman Duran.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdicky.
Here.
Assemblywoman Kasama.
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager. Assemblyman Urick.
Here.
Chair Marzola.
I am here. Please mark Assemblywoman Backus absent excused, and please mark the members present as they arrive. Good afternoon and welcome everyone here in Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, and everyone listening over the phone lines. Today we will hear bills 107, Assembly Bill 146, and Assembly Bill 165, and we will be taking them out of order. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping announcements. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed in the agenda. When testifying, please turn the microphone on to speak and off to listen. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. Any exhibits and amendments must be submitted electronically as a PDF file to our committee manager no later than noon on the business day before the meeting. We ask that the public comments be kept to 2 minutes so that everyone interested in speaking can be accommodated. Speakers are urged to avoid repeating comments made by previous speakers. Public comments may be submitted in writing, either in addition to testifying or in lieu thereof. Written public comment may be submitted before, during, or 24 hours after adjournment. I expect courtesy and respect in our interactions, even if we may not agree. Finally, please turn off all your electronic devices. With that, I will open Bill. Sorry, you're fine. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 165. This measure revises provisions governing payments for a permanent partial disability. Vice Chair Howdicky, you may begin when you're ready. You can start when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Assemblywoman Sandra Howdicky, and I represent Assembly District 41. I'm happy to be here in front of you today presenting what will probably be my two easiest bills of the session. And first, we are starting with Assembly Bill 165. Madam Chair, at the table with me are two groups who normally are not at the table together, insurance companies and the trial lawyers. But this cleanup bill has brought them together for the benefit of Nevada's injured workers. Earlier this year, the Division of Industrial Relations issued a memo that due to the 2017 change in Assembly Bill 458, there is now a missing statutory authority to grant lump sum payment awards for injured workers in Nevada for injuries that result in under 30% whole person disability, so they were going to stop processing these claims. This bill will fix that and allow those injured workers to receive one lump sum payment for their award. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to turn it over to Jason Mills with the Nevada Justice Association and then to Misty Grimmer for further information and to help answer any questions.
Please.
Chair Marzola, thank you, and distinguished members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. I'd like to thank you for your attention to this matter and thank Majority Leader Howdicky for bringing this necessary bill. The critical issue that she pointed out was that this was effectively a drafting or Scrivener's error on an amendment from the 2017 legislative session that none of the parties, and admittedly myself included, did not pick up on that last-minute error. However, for 5 years, the claims were processed properly and timely. Yet the Division of Industrial Relations noted the error in late last year, and an emergency regulation was drafted by the previous administration, and a temporary regulation has been moving through the current administration to address this particular problem. This bill, all it does is reinstates the status quo that has been in place for decades in this state. If there are any questions or problems or issues you would like to ask of me, I am prepared. Chair Marzola.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Misty Grimmer with the Ferraro Group representing Employers Insurance Company. I won't add to what Jason said. I'll just say ditto to that. It is also in the interest of the insurance side of the world, which is why it's crazy that we're all up here together. But it is also in the interest of the insurance side of the world that these smaller claims are able to be lump summed out. In Nevada, we have lifetime reopening, so they don't ever go away completely, but as far as the administrative day-to-day, month-to-month activities on these claims, if we're able to lump sum out these smaller ones, then it's better for everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and yes, I think it's very important that our claimants are being paid. Committee, any questions? Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And just, you mentioned the executive order that's currently in place, and I understand that expires in April. Is that correct?
Chair Marzola, through you to Assemblywoman
You can go straight
Hardy.
to the member.
Sorry, thank you. Assemblywoman Hardy, yes, Jason Mills on behalf of the Justice Association. That is correct. The emergency regulation that went into place just days after the Division of Industrial Relations noticed the error, went into place, as you are well aware, emergency regulations only last 120 days. On April 4th, 2023, the emergency regulation will cease to exist, and the status quo where claimants in the state of Nevada that receive lump sum awards or receive disability awards under 30%, which is the vast majority of all injured workers in Nevada, will lose their ability to receive lump sum payments to their detriment and the detriment of both the employers and insurers as well.
Committee members, any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you. Next, we'll hear testimony in support of Assembly Bill 165. Is anyone here in Carson City wanting to give testimony in support? Please remember you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. Craig Kozire with Pro Group Management, representing our 5 self-insured groups and also the Nevada Self-Insurers Association. For the most part, this is a big ditto. This benefits everybody. So thank you very much for processing this quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else in support of Assembly Bill 165 here in Carson City? Anyone in Las Vegas? Broadcast, anyone on the phone lines?
To testify in support of AB 165, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you, Broadcast. Next, we'll hear testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 165. Anyone here in Carson City wanting to testify in opposition? Anyone in Las Vegas? I don't even see a camera. Broadcast, anyone on the phone lines wanting to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 165?
To testify in opposition of AB 165, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 165? Anyone in Las Vegas? Broadcast, is anyone on the line to testify in a neutral position?
To testify in neutral for AB 165, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is Victoria Young with the Division of Industrial Relations. I'm the administrator, and I am testifying in neutral today on AB 165. I wanted to echo the comments earlier in that our office discovered the issue with the lump sum permanent partial disability payments in late 2022. After speaking with stakeholders, we did input a emergency regulation, as was discussed, in December 5th, 2022, and that will expire on April 4th, 2023. And then because that's going to expire and we were not sure of the timing of this legislation that is before you, we have started the process for a temporary regulation that would pick up when the emergency regulation expires. So we are having a workshop on February 27th, 2023 at 10 a.m. And the information on that workshop is provided in our written testimony. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you, Broadcast. Vice Chair Howdigi, do you have? Thank you. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 165. Thank you for your presentation. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 107. This measure revises provisions governing certain pharmacies located outside of this state. Vice Chair Howdigi, you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Assemblywoman Sandra Howdigi, and I represent Assembly District 41. I am now here in front of you to introduce Assembly Bill 107. After having a conversation with Mr. Young, I've just been made aware that it was last year all these conversations started. I think with Assembly Bill 165, I had made reference to earlier this year, but we are in a new year. So after having conversations last year with Mr. Young, and learning about the history and the reasons why this bill will allow for increased pharmaceutical care for Nevadans, I was happy to submit this bill as a committee bill on behalf of the Commerce and Labor Committee. This policy will allow Nevadans increased access to health care and access to the prescriptions that keep them healthy. Not being an expert in the area, I do have Mr. Paul Young and PCMA's Mr. Bill Head here with me to walk the committee through the bill and answer any questions you might have. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to turn it over first to Mr. Young.
Please.
Thank you, Majority Leader Howdigi and members of the committee. Madam Chair, I'm Paul Young with Tom Clark Solutions on behalf of Pharmaceutical Care Management Association and my client Bill Head. I'm going to have Bill walk through the bill and kind of the goal here and where it came from. With that being said, I'd just like to thank all the stakeholders in this process. It's been a fairly easy and smooth process, which I can't say is always the situation. Thank you.
Chair Marzola and members of the committee, my name is Bill Head with PCMA. We are the National PBM Trade Association. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Thank you, Majority Leader Howdigi, for your leadership on this and bringing everybody together to get a unified solution to this. Just to give you a little history on how this came about, there was an interpretation by the Board of Pharmacy in 2021 in which they issued a notice to our members and all pharmacists that if you are a out-of-state pharmacist, you would and had anything to do in the dispersing of the drug, besides the dispersing itself, but any contact, any line, in line with any part of that dispersing, you would have to be licensed in the state of Nevada. So for us, we have our members have affiliated mail order pharmacies. Those pharmacies have been and are licensed by the state and regulated by the state, and the state Board of Pharmacy has regulatory control over those facilities. So this separate from that is the idea of every pharmacist in those facilities being licensed in the state. This seemed an unnecessary burden both on our members and on the board, with little public, I guess, benefit in doing so. Obviously, any drug dispensed to a resident in Nevada has to be dispensed by a Nevadan a pharmacist licensed in the state of Nevada, so that hasn't changed and won't change. But the idea of a single pharmacist, a pharmacist in charge or a managing pharmacist, which is the language that the board has come up with, would in fact be licensed in the state. So there is an individual who is always accountable to the board in the state of Nevada, and we think that is the best solution, particularly for patients in the state, without disrupting access to their drugs. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Committee members, anyone have any questions? Assemblywoman Duran.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Just curious to see who would be held responsible if the person holding the license is on vacation or out of town. How is that going to work when he is off premises or out of town? Just trying to figure out if he's the only one that is holding the license.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Bill Head from PCMA. Well, there's two people. I think this is a good question for the board as well. But one is the pharmacist whose name is on the prescription, because that pharmacist will in fact have a Nevada pharmacist license. So the pharmacist whose name is on the prescription. But in addition, this would make sure that the managing pharmacist, or what we refer to as the pharmacist in charge, would also be licensed in the state, and that person would have some accountability as well. But I think the board may be able to answer in more detail.
Broadcast, is Mr. Wiest on the phone?
Yes, he is. 1 second, Chair. I apologize, Chair. It seems that we're having some technical issues. 1 moment.
No problem. There you are. Where you were there. If we're having issues, we can always take it offline as well.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll do my best to pinch hit for Dave Wiest. Michael Hillerby on behalf of the State Board of Pharmacy. As a general rule, both the pharmacy and the pharmacists and others handling drugs, as Mr. Head said, are licensed so that we know, as the state of Nevada, should there be something amiss happen, there is recourse. My understanding is because the pharmacy is licensed, as well as in this case, the pharmacist in charge or managing pharmacist, that recourse still exists. They might be out of the facility for whatever reason. And I will confirm that with Dave and the staff, and we'll get back to you. But I believe that is the case in these situations. Is we also have a license for the business itself.
Follow up.
And just the concern with that is just being if if there's a problem, I want to just be able to know if that the person that holds the license knows that he's going to be probably responsible for that, and how does that work, or if he's in agreement?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the Assemblywoman, Michael Hiller being on Nevada State Board of Pharmacy. Our registered pharmacists and technicians are well aware of their obligations under state law. The other issue is they would also be licensed in whatever state they're practicing in those pharmacies. So there's sort of a dual piece there. They're licensed in the state in which the facility is located. So there is some recourse there. And again, they're expected as a part of being registered or licensed here that they understand the Practice Act and Nevada law.
Thank you. That was going to be my question, was the liability portion, so I appreciate your answer. Assemblyman Urick.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation. Can you clarify for us what percentage of the pharmaceutical industry here in Nevada is actually occurring through these out-of-state pharmacists that are shipping, I guess, through mail order the pharmaceuticals here in Nevada?
Bill Head with PCMA. Assembly member, that nationally the number of mail order drugs is less than 10%. 10% sounds like a low number, but obviously that's hundreds of thousands of prescriptions. But it's a fairly low number comparatively to what people receive at their retail facility in state.
Any additional questions, committee members? I don't see any. Thank you for your presentation. Next, we'll hear testimony in support of Assembly Bill 107. Everyone will have 2 minutes each. Anyone here in Carson City to testify in support?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Liz McMenamin, MacMenamin, of the Retail Association in Nevada, representing the chain drug and pharmacy issues for the Retail Association. As Mr. Hurd had stated, that in 2021, July 2021, the Board of Pharmacy issued an opinion letter that was drafted by their staff attorney stating that NRS 639.100 would require all pharmacists who had anything to do with any type of prescription in the state of Nevada would now be required to be licensed in our state. Well, this was in direct opposition to the historical practices that had been going on for many, many years. And the non-resident pharmacy is currently licensed in the state of Nevada, and they were the ones responsible at that point in time to the Assemblywoman's concerns. We're very pleased to see this legislation, and we're happy to have the board's support, and I know that they helped to draft the language, so I'm pretty sure that it comes into confirmation to what they're going to need going forward and the concerns they had. We also want to talk about how important this is and the unintended consequences, what happened after that opinion. Many of our members who have pharmacies outside of the state who do some of the administrative work, not necessarily fill the prescription, but if they were touching that prescription from a person in Nevada, this board was then going to require that they be licensed in the state of Nevada. Well, these pharmacists are already licensed and are professionals in the states that they are practicing in, such as Arizona, where we have, I'll use one of our members' facility in Arizona, which does a lot of work for the patients in southern Nevada. They're licensed in Arizona, and they're professionals, the same as our pharmacists, and the facility itself is required to be licensed by the Board of Pharmacy. So that license took care of the liability, that licensure of that facility, and then it would be up to them for them to take care of any responsibility for the pharmacist that resides in that facility. So I know that the chair's looking at that and looking to cut it off. And
up,
2 minutes is not enough for me. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Muraknin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 170. It maintains, AB 107, I apologize. Dyslexia kicked in for a second there. As you've heard, it maintains its safeguards for the consumer and the patients while addressing some of the inefficiencies that have arisen that could impact the industry. So we are in agreement with the presentations, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City in support? Anyone in Las Vegas in support to Assembly Bill 107? Broadcast, anyone on the line in support?
To testify in support of AB 107, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Now we'll hear testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 107. Anyone here in Carson City in opposition? I don't see anyone. Anyone on the internet in Las Vegas? Broadcast, anyone on the line in opposition to Assembly Bill 107?
To testify in opposition of AB 107, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in a neutral position on Assembly Bill 107 here in Carson City? Anyone in Las Vegas? Broadcast, anyone on the phone line wishing to testify in a neutral position?
To testify in neutral for AB 107, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And we will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 107. One minute recess, please.
Committee, we will come back to order. It's nice to be here in a very familiar seat. Hello, Chair Marzola. Committee members, I am now going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 146. Chair Marzola, when you are ready.
Thank you, Vice Chair Howdigi and members of the committee. For the record, I am Elaine Marzola, representing Assembly Bill 21 in Clark County. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 146, which seeks to clarify provisions governing video services. With me today is Hamlin Wade. He is the Associate Vice President of State External Affairs for DirecTV. With the Vice Chair's permission, I would first like to provide some general background information before Mr. Wade provides detailed information on the bill and answers any questions the members may have. Thank you, Chair, or Vice Chair. Assembly Bill 146 clarifies existing law to clearly state that video streaming providers and their customers do not owe franchise fees for streaming video content. This bill makes no change to current state law, and there is no fiscal impact for this bill. Only those companies that have cable lines and equipment running through and beneath public streets and sidewalks to provide video service to their customers, such as cable companies, pay a franchise fee essentially for having the right to occupy the public right-of-way. The franchise fees are passed down to the customer. You may be aware that streaming video content is transmitted as a digital signal through the same internet line as every website you view on the internet and every email that you send. This is a line that is already on the ground, which streaming providers did not put in the ground and do not have the right to touch it. Many households in Nevada have multiple streaming subscriptions. I know I do. If cities are able to impose additional fees, families would pay 5% more on their Sling TV bills, 5% more on their DirecTV bills, 5% more on their Netflix bills, 5% more on their YouTube bills, which is where we are currently streaming this committee meeting, and so on. For every streaming bill they would have to pay additional fees. Next, Mr. Wade will provide a summary of the bill and the proposed amendment, which incorporates requested edits from the cable industry.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Hamlin Wade. I am with DirecTV and here to walk through the amendment that should be in Nellis that makes some conforming and clarifying comments that we really tried to work with all of the players in this ecosystem to reach a consensus on this bill. And we are appreciative to the cable industry for working with us and getting to a place where they were comfortable with our language. As the Chairwoman said, this bill really just tries to clarify status quo in Nevada. When the video service law was passed 15, 16 years ago, it was never intended to include streaming services in owing franchise fees. Franchise fees, as the Chairwoman mentioned, are intended to be collected for those entities that have physical occupation of the right-of-way. If you go and want to lay your cable line, if you want to lay your internet line, electric, any sort of utility, you need to get permission from the city to do that, and you need to compensate the city for tearing up the sidewalks, for repairing those roads. That is federally capped at 5% of gross revenues on a customer's bill as it relates to video service. And so that is a fee that every customer who has cable pays. If you have an internet line to your home, you pay a different type of linear square foot fee to access that fiber line that is in your home. And so what this bill is really trying to do is just clarify that those fees are not supposed to be applied to video streamed over the internet. What we have seen is there's been an effort around the country to have streamers pay those fees, which would add a 5% fee onto every streaming service you have. You're already paying for that access to the internet line, to the cable line, and so now it would be paying that fee once, and then for every streaming service you have, paying it again and again and again. And that was never the intent. It's for that maintenance of the right-of-way, and as a streaming service, you do not have access to that right-of-way. If you're watching Netflix and your Netflix stops working because your internet is out, you don't call Netflix and ask them to go fix the internet line. You call the internet provider because they have that exclusive right to the right-of-way. So we think this is a pretty simple, clarifying statute. I would note that, as the Chairwoman said, there's no fiscal impact to the state. The only fiscal impact would be to all of your constituents because their bills would go up by 5% every month on every streaming service that they have. With that, I am happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Wade, for your presentation. Committee members, any questions? Speaker?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And hopefully you didn't say this during your presentation, but just curious, what is the status in other jurisdictions? Is this some problem that you guys are addressing? Is this the first, will we be the first state to do this, or where do we sit in that sort of order of what's happening around the country?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the question. So last year, 4 states actually clarified this exact statute. Ohio, Louisiana, Georgia, and Arizona all acted on this, made a simple clarifying change to their statute to ensure that streamers were not captured. This is an effort that is being undertaken across the country. Nevada would be not the first, but still on the front half of our efforts and would be greatly appreciated.
I just have a question as well, and I also apologize if you covered this. Would this apply to gaming as well, like if someone's playing an online game?
Thank you for the question, Hamlin Wade with DirecTV. Our fear is that there is really no end to this. Right now, the lawsuits that have been filed are going after the big streaming providers, going after the Netflixes, the Hulus, the DirecTV Stream, Sling TVs. But there is a cascading effect that this could then fall down onto, live or first-person gaming operations, a Zoom call. If you were doing a video conference call, that's now a video that is being delivered over the internet. If you send an email with a video that you recorded yourself, is that now considered a video streaming? There really is no end to this, and it gets very close into, just a blanket tax on any video on the internet. So while we don't know for sure if it would capture video gaming, our fear is that if it's not stopped and constrained and clearly defined, that could be the long-term effect here.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions? Mr. Carter?
How does this tie into DirecTV and Dish Network's very public effort to become, what do they call it, the 5th network or whatever, and push out all of the franchise paying internet providers within residential neighborhoods?
Thank you for the question, Hamlin Wade, DirecTV. So that, I believe your question is in regards to Dish's efforts to build out a 5G wireless network. That is not related to this. As it relates to Dish's efforts, as they build out a 5G network, they would pay a right-of-way fee in order to put their infrastructure on lampposts, on street signs, et cetera. So they would be paying a fee. It would be a different fee. There is probably a 5G standard for what is that fee, what does that look like, what is that structure. This only deals with the video service provision, which would not impact that.
Assemblywoman Torres?
Thank you. Sorry, my mic is very far from me. Thank you for your presentation, and I apologize because I'm just taking a look at the amendments. I just have one question. I'm looking at the definition of cable service as well as video content. I'm just wondering if that is consistent with a federal definition for that, and whether I see the definition obviously for cable service is the federal definition, but I'm wondering whether or not this video content, if there is a federal definition that we're drawing this information off of. Additionally, I'm wondering if this is consistent with what other states are doing, if there's been policies introduced in others.
Thank you for the question, Hamlin Wade with DirecTV. So as you mentioned, the cable service definition is the federally recognized definition for cable. In all of these efforts, we have used the same statutes, the same definitions to make sure that there is uniformity across this space. As it relates to video content and particularly streaming content, this is a more newly entered space. There is not a federal definition, but it generally is considered to be digital audio visual works delivered over the internet. So that has been put forth in statutes as it relates to different digital goods bills and as things are defined in the ecosystem, but there is not a federal definition for video content as of yet.
Thank you. I imagine that's something that will have to change soon, and hopefully does.
Members? Going once, going twice? Okay, thank you for your presentation, Chair and Mr. Wade. I am going to open it up to testimony now. We will first hear testimony in support in Carson City. If there's anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in support, please approach the table. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? BPS, could we check the telephone line for anyone wishing to testify in support?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers for support at this time.
Thank you, BPS. I will now open it up to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Okay, seeing none in Carson City, is there anyone in Las Vegas? BPS, could we please check the telephone line for anyone wishing to testify in opposition?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in the neutral position? Is there anyone in Las Vegas? BPS, could we please check the telephone line for anyone wishing to testify in the neutral position?
Chair, the line is open and working, but we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Chair Marzola, would you like to give any closing remarks? Okay, thank you so much. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 146, and we will go into a 1-minute recess.
Committee will come back to order. We will now open a work session on Assembly Bill 165, which revises provisions governing payments for a permanent partial disability. Speaker, would you like to make some remarks?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. As I'm sure members know, because I know you all read the Assembly Standing Rules every night before bed, there is Rule 57 that talks about a 24-hour waiting period in our Assembly rules, where typically we would wait 24 hours after hearing a measure before doing a work session. That can be waived in a couple of circumstances. One, it can be waived with the permission of the Speaker, and two, it can be waived with the consent of the entire committee. So I'm going to go ahead and waive the 24-hour period for Assembly Bill 165. As folks heard, there's some urgency to getting this passed, so I am formally doing that on the record, so a work session for Assembly Bill 165 would now be in order.
Thank you. I'll accept the motion to do pass.
So moved.
I have a first from Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno and a second from Assemblyman O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I will assign the floor statement to Vice Chair Howdigee. 1 minute recess. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. If you direct your remarks to issues which are not over this committee, I will ask you to redirect your remarks. Anyone in Carson City wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone. Anyone in Las Vegas? Broadcast, anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but we have no callers at this time.
Thank you. Are there any comments from any of the committee members? I don't see any. This concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Friday, February 24th at 1:30 p.m. Our meeting is adjourned.